All right, Algebra 1, here we go, guys. We are still factoring. So just like in section 6, where we were learning how to factor a trinomial, we are still factoring trinomials here in section 7 today. But I want you to pay close attention that we will now be dealing with a coefficient in front of the x squared. Okay, so that changes a little bit about what you have to pay attention to, because in section 6 we didn't have that, and so you could focus pretty much completely on the c value and then how that would work to get the b value. But now what you will be noticing here pretty soon is you still have to pay close attention to c. You now have to take that a coefficient into consideration, and then how do those together create the b value in the middle? In other words, the coefficient of just x, otherwise known as the second term. Okay, so we are going to be focusing on both the first term and the third term and figuring out how together how they create the middle second term. All right. Okay, so that's basically the description that you're going to see right here. Okay, right there, that's just describing what I just did there for you. Now, if, as this says, if the coefficient a, so in other words, that one right in front, is ever a negative, then you're going to want to multiply every term by a -1. Okay, another way to think about that is you could factor out a -1, and then everything is going to change the sign. And that is really beneficial, because when a is a negative, it becomes a little bit difficult to keep up with all of the different signs and how they interact, and then how that goes on to do that, solve for b. Okay, so that's going to be a couple of the example problems we're going to see. We'll have a coefficient a that is a negative, and so we're going to multiply every term in the trinomial by the -1, change every single sign. Okay, all right, this is really important. Always check your answers. Okay, we're going to do that for all these problems. You saw us do it in section 9.6 because that's important there too. It's really important. Check your work, check your work, check your work. Okay, and again, I just want to make sure you understand this type of stuff takes practice. All right, so what does that mean? That means you can't give up. It takes practice, repetition. You got to keep trying. Don't just throw in the towel quick. Don't give up, and certainly don't think that you will magically understand it without a lot of practice. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple example problems that are already worked out here for you. So let's zoom in and see. This is the given trinomial. First term now has that coefficient 3. Remember, in the last section, we would just be looking at the variable squared. Well, that's not the case anymore. Okay, so now what you're going to have to pay attention to is that first coefficient and the c value, and then we will be trying to create that middle term when we use both of these guys. So let's go down the line. For starters, all the factors of 3 are the same, 1 and 3. Okay, so that doesn't change. That's nice. What are all the factors of -5? Because that's important to see. We could have a +1, -5, -1, +5, and then the same thing, but the order starts to switch. Okay, take a look at the different orders that we can make by using those 4 terms. Okay, so notice this one starts with the +1, then the -5, and then take a look at where the 3 is being represented because the 3 was in front with the n squared. So then that is going to be in front in both of the binomials. Okay, so for both of those binomials, not only will they of course have n and another n, but you have to represent the 3. So there's the 1 there and the 3 there. All right, and they are consistent with that 1 and 3 all the way down the line. But notice how the signs can change. If we go plus, minus, in the parentheses, the key thing that you have to remember is that the signs just need to be opposite. All right, so you'll notice we could go plus, minus, or we could go minus, plus. All right, so that is one of the things that's important with checking your work. If the signs are the opposite, pay attention to make sure that they are in the proper order. Should they go plus, minus, or should they go minus, plus? And then the other piece to pay attention to is the order of the factors of 5. Does it go 1, 5, or does it go 5, 1? Now, they are letting us know that this one right here is the correct option to pick. Now, how do we know that that is correct? Well, follow along in the example problems. You're going to see me work everything out, but I'll give you the quick definition now, and you will see more of it later. We're going to make this little double smiley face. Okay, again, these two guys connect, these two guys connect. What is a positive 5 and a positive 3 make? That's going to make a positive 15. What does a positive 1 and a negative 1 make? That's going to make a negative 1. Think of this as 15 minus 1, giving us 14. And what did we want? Right there, we wanted a positive 14. Okay, so we're going to be doing that little double smiley face to check each of these problems. All right, and here's another example problem worked out there for you. So this is what we're starting with, but now look at that. Our front coefficient has a negative. So what did we do? We factored out that negative, which is the same thing as multiplying everything by a negative 1. Okay, so then you are factoring that new trinomial right there, which if you pay attention, all the signs are now the opposite. That negative is gone. That positive and that positive are now both negatives. Look at that right there. Then we can proceed and factor the trinomial because the negative has been dealt with, and you go through those same steps. All right, factors of 4 could be 1 and 4 or 2 and 2. Factors of 7 are simply that, 1 and 7. And then if your signs in here are negative and negative, that means that in the parentheses, they could be opposites, okay? Now, how do I know that? The key thing is this sign right here, all right? Now, this is not written right here in the notes, but I'm going to verbalize it now, and I want you to write this in your notes. If the second sign right there, if the second sign, which is in front of the C value, that's the C value, if the second sign is a negative, then your signs in the parentheses will be opposite. Okay, I'll say it again. I want you to write this down in your notes. If the second sign is a negative in your parentheses, you will have opposite signs. Sorry. Okay, well, let's do some example problems of our own. All right, we got 4 coming up. So let's jump into example problem number 1 right here. We still start with a double set of parentheses, just like we did in the last section. Now, if this is a plus sign, this is another thing that might be helpful to write down. If the second sign is a plus sign, look to the first sign, and whatever that first sign is what they both will be. Again, if this is a plus sign, then look to the first one, and whatever that one is, that is what they both will be. So they both will be plus. All right, now let's think about this. Factors of 3 are just 3 and 1. Factors of 4 are 4 and 1, or 2 and 2. So we don't know which one we should pick. I recommend still starting with the ones that are closest together. I can't guarantee that will work, but I can tell you it works more times than it doesn't, but we shall see. You never know. Let's test it out. So a 3 and an x, and this side is just an x. Here's why. Remember, x squared, there's 2 of them. Well, there's my x and there's my x. Factors of 3 are 3 and 1. So we already broke that down, okay? Both signs have been taken care of. They're both plus signs. Now let's test it with a 2 and a 2 in our second spot. That's coming from these guys right here and plugging them in here. And what did I say? Check every answer and check it by doing a double smiley face. What is 2 times x? 2x. All right. What is 3x times 2? That is a positive 6x. And let's figure out what is 2x plus 6x give us. Magic right there. It is 8x, and that is what we want, 8x. So that tells me that we have the correct factor right there. Check it with the double smiley face. All right, let's move on. Example problem number 2. Double set of parentheses. Okay, take a look at the second sign. It's a plus sign. That means look at the first sign, and that's a negative, which tells me both signs in here will be a negative. Remember, if this is plus, look to the first, and whatever that is what goes in both of those spots. Okay, factors of 4. 4 and 1 or 2 and 2. Okay, now we have a couple different options to play with, but with the 5, it's just 5 and 1. Okay, so that's a prime number. That works out nice. Let's try the 2 and 2, and we'll see if we're correct. All right, so that's going to be a 2x here and a 2x here. Let's try the 5 and the 1 just as it is, because again, it's a prime number. Only 1 and 5 will work. Every answer must be checked. Make our double smiley face right here. Check it out. A negative 5 and a positive 2 make a negative 10x. Then a 2x and a negative 1 make a negative 2x. Negative 10 and negative 2 make a negative 12. That is not what we are looking for. Negative 12 and negative 9, not correct. So that tells me that 2 and 2 are not the correct options to use. So we have to go back and change those options. Meaning we are now going to test out the 4 and the 1. Let's see if those are the possible correct options that we found. Okay, a negative 5 and a positive 1 make a negative 5x. A positive 4 and a negative 1 make a negative 4x. Negative 5 and negative 4 make a negative 9x. That is what we're looking for, negative 9x and negative 9x. That tells me now we have the proper correct order. This is now the true factorization. All right, let's move down. Example problem 3. Here's your red flag, negative sign right out in front. We don't want that negative sign. So every single one of these signs right here, notice they're all negatives. We have to do the opposite of all 3 and rewrite this trinomial. So let's do that. Opposite is now going to be a positive 2x plus, 2x squared plus 5x plus 3. Opposite for all 3 signs. Now we can factor it. Double set of parentheses. Positive, look to the front, it's positive. these will be positive. This looks nice. That's a prime number. That's a prime number. Okay, so let's go 2x and x. And then let's try, we're looking for this to be a 5. So we only have the options for this 3 as 3 and 1. We know that that was 2 and 1. But remember, order matters. So let's try the order first with a 3 and a 1 and do our double smiley face to test it out. All right, we need to see if that is in the proper order. Should the 3 go with the 2? Or we'll see if the 3 should go on the other side. So 3 multiplied by x makes 3x. 2 multiplied by 1 makes a plus 2x. 3x plus 2x does equal 5x. 5x and positive 5x. All right, pay close attention to that. That is what we are looking for. So we did pick the right order for it. And every problem is checked. You must check it. Make sure your signs are right. Make sure the order is right. Okay, look at this. We got another red flag. A negative sign with that front coefficient. That needs to be taken out. That means opposite, opposite, and opposite. All right, so let's rewrite this. That is now opposite sign for all 3 terms. So we can proceed and break down the parentheses here. Okay, you have a positive and a negative. Remember what I said, if this is a negative, immediately you know the signs in your parentheses will have to be opposites. If this is a negative, the signs in your parentheses will have to be opposites. So let's put that in. Let's try a positive there and a negative there. The 3 can only be 3 and 1. The 2 can only be 2 and 1. So it's nice to have some prime numbers to deal with, but we still have to get the right order. Let's just plug them in and test the order. So I'm going to put my 3x here and my x here. Remember, 3 is both 3 and 1. So there's my 3, there's my 1. X squared is x. There's another x. All right. And then let's try the 2 there and the 1 there. 2 right there. 1 right there. Double smiley face is going to test this for us. All right. What is 2 multiplied by x? 2x. What is 3x times a negative 1? Pay attention to your signs. Make sure always pay attention to those signs. That makes a negative 3x. 2x minus 3x makes a negative 1x. Unfortunately, negative 1, we want a positive 1. So the signs are off. The number's right, but the signs are off. So this is how we can fix that. Let's change the signs that are in the parentheses and do the opposite still, but we're just changing the order. Remember the first time we went plus minus. Now, this time we're switching it. We're going to go minus plus. Okay, so let's test again and see if we are now correct. We have a negative 2 and an x. That is going to give us negative 2x. Then we have a positive 3x and a positive 1, giving us a plus 3x. This is the magic combo. Positive 3, negative 2 is going to create 1x. That's what we were looking for in the middle the whole time. All right, so that means this right here is our correct, true factorization for that trinomial. That's what I got for you today, guys. Okay, take good notes. Listen closely. Take the time to practice. All right, ask questions in class. I'll see you guys in the next one.